Hello, you beautiful, amazing, stunning, wonderful people listening to the best podcast in the world. It's Keltie, right beside, not virtually beside, Savannah everyone. How's it going?
It's going good. I have a fellow baseball cap. Keltie wears one almost every day, or a beanie. And it's hair wash day. I need to, wash my hair when I get home from traveling. I'm going to take a red eye, RIP.
There's a full little insider baseball for you all. There's a reason I always have a baseball cap or toque on in these podcasts. Because the days we film is not when I film YouTube, so it's never hair wash day come podcast day. So it is always a hat day.
Why do I feel like I have deja vu?
Have I said this?
I don't think you have, but I have major deja vu.
Crazy. Isn't that not weird? I had deja vu 2 days ago, and it was the craziest kind of deja vu of deja vu. It was the weirdest thing. Like, for example, I was like on my phone looking on a certain app, eating a meal, like planning for something next week. It was one of those. And I was like, oh, I've been exactly in this. And I had the deja vu of when I had it in the past. And I remember when I had it in the past, I was having deja vu, but I couldn't connect the first time.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like the first time was a dream or, whatever you believe in. And last time I was like, no, I've actually done this. I'm just like great Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
So that was trippy to be like conscious of your deja vu.
Yeah. Do you know what deja vu is from? So this is my hypothesis according to Wizards of Waverly Place.
Oh, almost just the most concrete.
It's solid. It's a rock solid answer. It is so anytime you have deja vu, it means a witch is around you and they had to go backwards in time.
And why did the witch have to go backwards in time?
I don't know.
Okay.
They didn't show it up. Well, in Wizards of Waverly Place, I think she was like on a date, like watching a movie and something went wrong. And so she kept doing deja vu, like constantly rewriting it so she could get it right. And all the normal people viewed it as deja vu because it had already happened, but she went back in time.
Oh, so it's the witches choosing to do deja vu, and then you're just okay. That
it's
makes
like
sense.
A witch
that makes
fucked
sense.
up, so you, as a normal human, have deja vu. So there's a witch around us.
Maybe
Fucked up, and we just had it.
Halloween, like, is within a few weeks of us, so I feel it's they're out. November, October.
Episode.
That's also October, November. You know what I mean? Like, it's like Halloween. We're in a spooky part of Gastown. It's one of those kind.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah.
Okay.
I feel it's like around this time of year, everything happens.
Speaking of spooky, have you heard this conspiracy? This is my hot take.
Oh, tell.
That celebrities are actually vampires and they have like gone back in time. Basically, you can find pictures of them like way back in the 50s that look like them. Like Taylor Swift has a doppelganger. The guy that plays Michael Scott, what's his name? I love him.
Oh,
from The Office.
What now? When someone blanks, so you blank on the spot.
Let's call him
Carell. Steve Carell.
Steve Carell has like a doppelganger from the 50s, and that they all are these like vampires that have never died. They're like Vampire Diaries, where they live forever and they've just like gotten good at being famous.
I know. I see where it is because I've seen those photos and you're like, that is creepy. But then you think of how many people, it's like, wow, you're the doppelganger of blank alive. I just think it's just eventually people look alike. You know what I mean? Like, I get like compared to like some people all the time. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I look a lot like them. So you know what I mean? Like,
yes, but some of them are creepy. Like there was this one of Taylor Swift like doing a Barbie commercial in like 1981. And like I'm a big Swiftie. But I wouldn't be mad if she was a vampire. Honestly, I wouldn't be mad if there was vampires.
But what about these celebrities that we actually witness age? Do you know what I mean? So Taylor Swift, I've seen the difference between her at 14 and her at 34. I've seen a drastic change in 20 years.
Such a good point.
I'm sorry. Like, it's one of those, I see why it's fun. I see why it's fine, but it's so flawed. It's one of those conspiracy theories that, like, guys, have fun, but remember, she's aging in front of us.
Maybe that's the witch in them.
So, okay, I will plead, if you want to go full conspiracy, there's 100 Taylor Swifts at every age, 100 vampires. And that's the only possibility. So there's a 1-year-old Taylor Swift that never ages, a 14.
Perfect.
And then every year they're like, oh, year 33 is Taylor Swift, time to hop on out.
Now you get to have fame for 1 year.
Yep. So, they're have fun with that, conspiracy theorists.
Fair. Okay, what's your hot take?
My hot take is, I also kind of just need to know opinion. We were talking about this before. We're talking about like dream brands to work with. And Sav mentioned Tarte, because the Tarte trip. I'm gonna be honest, I don't use Tarte. I did back in the day. I used their like foundation, and that was the worst mistake of my life because, oh wow, your thumbs aren't even up, and the FaceTime just thumbs down. I was like, wow, it was like she just knew, like, oh, it's so bad. Yeah. But it just dried out my skin, and it was like the clay foundation they have. The only Tarte product I've ever used. I'm just not a Tarte girly. It's not really for us dry skins. But if I was invited on the Tarte trip, oh my God, I'd want to go.
Well,
And
now
I
you're not going to be because you just publicly said this.
Let me finish my train of thought. Finish my train of thought. Is like, I also haven't used all the Tarte products. So if they reached out, you know what I mean? What would you do if Brad reached out? You only tried the one you didn't like. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try the others. I'm going to try the others. And also, I just want to go behind the scenes. I want to see what really happens on this trip. It's just like a go investigate. I have my investigate series. I go in, see the Tarte trip, tell how the girls what it's really like. What would you do? Would you go?
Yeah, I would go, of course. I'm not the one bashing Tarte. I would 1000% go. Tarte, I love you.
There we go. That's all fakes. Yeah, at least I'm honest. I'm like, Tarte,
Fake bitch, trying to go. But the thing is, Keltie was saying, you know, like, I don't want to sell my soul for that trip. And I'm like, I think everybody would collectively understand selling your soul because those girls, they look like they live life. They go on PJs, they get drunk, they have makeup artists. I mean, people are going to Taylor Swift concerts with other brands. Like, I would 1000% sell my soul for a Taylor Swift brand concert.
See, if Tarte was really smart, they would bring me instead of other girls. Let me explain why. I've come out as being like, I don't really get the Tarte hype. I've tried one product, wasn't a fan. Obviously, I haven't tried every product, but like, convince me I'm wrong. You know what I mean? Get me. If suddenly I'm hyping Tarte, you're like, wow, even she likes it. She's a Tarte hater. Versus the girls who are like, oh, I love Tarte, love Tarte. So you'd say anything. They could like smear ash on your face and you'd be like, oh my God, look at this exfoliator. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't believe that. I was like, okay, Tarte, bring me on a trip. Convert me into a Tarte person.
Okay, well, Tarte, if you're listening, give her a +1.
Perfect. I was like, I'll convert.
I'll go. I'll hype you up. Don't worry, girl. I'll put the ash on my face.
I love it. What's yours? Do you have another one?
Oh, my other one. Okay. I just thought, you know, what was fitting with today's topic is my hot take. Honestly, I'm all about the Botox. I'm all about the filler. I say do what you want. I've got some fake titties, right? Like, I'm not against altering yourself if that is what you want personally. But I have noticed there's this big trend right now of just like things coming out about Botox and filler and everything like that, that I think the best way of anti-aging, and there's just like other ways to market it, is just taking care of yourself. And I think of that like with my parents of like, my mom is 62, hottie with a body. It's just taking care of yourself. You're gonna get wrinkles no matter what. Your skin is gonna sag no matter how much collagen you take, no matter how many supplements you have. You can get a facelift if you want, but still, you never know. And so, I don't know, my hot take was just that I feel like so many people make it complicated on anti-aging of like, have a million night masks. Like, have you seen those like chin straps people put on to like go to bed? And it's like, at the end of the day, just like work out, eat well, drink water, sleep well, and like you'll beat out like at least 80% of your age group always.
Well, there is Sav's hypothesis. You know, when you do a research study, there's a hypothesis because we're going to go through everything she just talked about and kind of break it down in today's episode and see where we stand at the end of it. Because there's some hot topics on the internet. And so let's just dive right into this episode. Now, this stemmed first, well, actually, I should say, first, medical disclaimer. Neither of us are medical professionals. None of this is medical advice. Do not research, do not like go to your science professor and be like, oh, these two girls talked about it. I'm going to put it in, you know, literature. Don't take it. Don't take our advice. But just know we're just having a conversation about anti-aging as women, as technology is advancing. And we're just kind of, how do we feel personally, which is all the advice we've been given. And just go over some of the things trending. And one that's trending is recently, you know, Brian Johnson, the guy's trying to live forever. He did a video and it's called, I Try to Make My Face Younger. And so instantly I was like, oh, the boys, welcome to the girlies' life. Yeah. And the whole video was kind of, and it's true, him talking about like, he's doing all these like anti-aging, but like things. And it's true. Like you see the stats, he is aging less than the rest of us, but everyone's comment was like, you look so old. First of all, welcome to being a woman. Second of all, what we don't talk about a lot, like he's in this severe calorie restriction. So he lost like all the fat in his face, which does make you look older. And so he started to be like, oh yeah, maybe I should change this. Like, is there technology available to me to stop aging my face, like my skin and all that? Because like we know Botox and filler, we're going to talk about it, but I just thought it'd be interesting to talk about a couple of things he did. So number one, have you heard of Sculptra?
Sounds really familiar.
So it's kind of like it's not totally new, but it's like filler, same kind of idea, plumps up some wrinkles. But the idea is you inject it and it takes like a couple weeks, months, depending on how your body adapts. And it starts stimulating collagen. So like I find that kind of interesting versus like a filler, which is just like acid that kind of plumps things up. It's like stimulates your body's own production of what is lost. So collagen. So he's kind of doing that. What
Is
do you
it
think?
like a vampire facial?
No, it's like an actual injection. You know, filler that you get filler in your
Yeah.
lips. It's exactly, but instead of hyaluronic acid or however you say it, it's whatever the product is. But that it's a stimulator that causes your body to want to produce more of its own collagen there. So like that's interesting. So I was curious if you would do something like that or your thoughts on things like that.
Oh yeah, I do in a heartbeat, you guys. I am unapologetically down to do any of these things. It actually sounds really cool, but like my question might be, what's the difference between a vampire facial or microneedling, if that's also to like stimulate collagen growth?
So it's the deeper level. So like I think a microneedling and vampire facial is very surface level. Just think it's just like on your surface and it dips versus that's going in there and like so it is the same kind of idea, but it's like getting
more bang
deeper.
For your buck.
Yeah, it's not just it's not like fine lines. Like my understanding is that would get your deep wrinkles. As a non-medical, that's my understanding of how at least it's been sold to me.
Well, I guess what would be the actual product? Like what are you putting in?
That's why I forget. It's like a chemical that like it's a stimulator, just kind of like
this is why we are not medical
exactly.
professionals.
It's just whatever they inject it just causes your body to like want to rebuild its collagen there. And once again, that's just like my understanding of it.
Which I guess
I'm fascinated by it now. It's like one of those, and we'll kind of talk about it later in the episode of like what's worth it, what's not, because I feel we're in a crossroads right now. Like we'll talk about filler and Botox, but we have stuff that stops us from aging, but we don't actually have stuff that stops us from aging. It's a lot of like, I think about 10 years ago, you were sold like, wear this cream, get this procedure, and it didn't really work. But now you see some things like Botox works, filler works, it can work, but it's also a Band-Aid cure, both of them. So it's kind of like, but we're at that stage of like, technology is advancing so much. Like, do you feel we're at this like crossroads? I'm like, things actually work now. Like, it's like, I'll use this example, Ozempic. For the longest time, it was like, there's no weight loss pill out there. Otherwise, Oprah would lose weight. Like, that's always the joke. As bad as it sounds like she has endless money. If there was something existed, Oprah would. Oprah's lost weight. It's called Ozempic. Like, you know what I mean? We're kind of in that place of like, oh, that like magic pill exists. Like it's a weird ethical thing right now. And like, I'm always torn with it because it used to be like, oh, just work out and all that. I'm like, I can't deny the benefits.
Now
like,
Kelly Clarkson's showing off her hourglass figure.
It's crazy. We're like at that place. How do you feel about things like that in technology?
I don't know. The only thing that I will say is like my mother always taught me to be hesitant on new items in the medical field because there's just not enough studies necessarily on it, which I think Ozempic's been around for quite a while for people. It was just used for a different purpose. So I honestly don't know. I'm not a doctor. But I mean, think of like when people started vaping. Like my mom said, like there are going to be studies that come out that show that is horrible for you, just like it is for smoking cigarettes, right? I don't know the extent. I'm not a vape professional, but back when people first started vaping, they thought it was like a great alternative. They thought like there was nothing wrong with it, and it was just because there wasn't enough studies on it. So that makes me a little hesitant. But I don't know. I think you live and you learn, so it's kind of up to you.
Yeah, and it's also the vaping one's interesting to me because it reminds me of vaping, and those were meant as like replacement for smokers. Like it's better than smoking was the kind of the rationale. And so it's like better than this. But then people are just like, oh, I'll just start vaping. Like Ozempic's a good thing for someone who's like severely obese and needs to lose weight and is very unhealthy. But now people are like, I could use it to lose 5 pounds. Like I feel like that's the problem with things like this too, is that like the abuse of technologies. And like, how do we balance that?
Totally. Because I mean, there's some people that have taken Ozempic and then they learn that they're like, okay, I need to now build muscle. I need to also like change up my diet. Maybe that's what had gotten me into this, whatever it may be, right? But then it's some of the people that just are like, this is a magic drug. I take it, and they don't like have a lifestyle change. I think that's when it's harmful.
And that, I think that might be even just like the whole conclusion with thought of it is like, does it actually change you from like getting to the root of your problem? Like, does it cause you to like, I've had friends I know like take Ozempic even, and they were like, it completely changed my perception of food and how I think of my body. And it got me like, I realized I was losing too much muscle, so I wanted to put on muscle. And you're like, that's a great example versus like, I also know some people like took it for 3 months and then stopped and gained it all right back. So it's like, it always comes down to lifestyle change. It really does.
Definitely.
Which brings me to, let's talk about Botox and fillers. Now, we're not anti-Botox and fillers here, but I talked about this with you yesterday. Do you know what Botox actually is? This is mind-blowing to me.
What is it? You never told me.
Botulism. Do you know what botulism is?
Does that have to do with dead people?
It's just like, well, it'll kill you. It's one of those like infections that like you get botulism like from like eating bad food. You know when you hear someone like dying from like severe food poisoning?
Yeah.
It's botulism.
Oh.
So what Botox does, and once again, this is very layman terms. I'm not a professional, but in essence, is it just kills like a nerve and it destroys a muscle. Like in essence, it like freezes it. And what it does is by injecting a little bit of this botulism, they realize obviously it's like any kind of vaccine injectable. Like it's changed. It's not exactly like they just go to a rotten pig and take botulism and inject it in you. Obviously, it's like built in a lab and stuff, but technically it is. And that's what freezes your muscle and like nerves and all that to stop your face from moving. Now, that's why you have to be so careful about going to like a really professional injector. Because if you go to someone who's right, they're going to know exactly where to put it. So it's not going to harm you. But there is girls who get it done and that's injected in the wrong space into your bloodstream. And then like there's stories of people getting severely sick because you are injecting botulism into your body. And like there's this one girl I know. Do you know Ariel Laurie? She does a health and wellness podcast.
Mm-mm.
This is what scared me the most about Botox is she got botulism from it. Her husband was a billionaire. So like that's why at first I'm like, yeah, people are going to these sketchy places, and so I'm like, but I was like, she's going to like the most expensive places in LA. She's got, and maybe he's like worth 500 million. I don't know. He's one of those like she didn't have to work at all. She was a Pilates princess, getting every plastic surgery thing.
Crop. Like,
yeah,
she could have her pick,
and she got it.
This is where like people that are extremely famous and they have botched facelifts. You're like, you have all the options, and you still got it botched. And
then what chance? And like I've gotten Botox. I'm not against Botox, but it's just made me like start to reassess of like, do we got better? Like, because it's not actually fixing the problem. It just stops us from moving. So we stop these wrinkles.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, Ariel, she looks amazing for her age. Unbelievable. And it's because she did Botox for a long time. And now she's kind of like, I don't know what to do now that I can't do Botox. But she's like looking into it. So I just find it interesting of like, I feel filler and Botox has been such a common thing. And it's like, but are we all going to regret it in 10, 20 years? Or like, what's next? Like, I feel like it's old school. No, go to, oh my God.
We're going to look up. I want to see
she's like,
what she looks like now. How old is she?
She's late 30s. Like, she's one of those people, you've probably seen her on TikTok. She's blown up being like, this is my skincare as a 39-year-old. And you're like, you're 39? Like, her skin is perfect.
So she got botulism, and now she's just chilling like a villain? Like,
and she was sick for a year. She was like really sick and she couldn't figure it out. And then she like was like, and she was the classic thing where, you know what I mean? You tell these people, you're like, oh, I'm feeling unwell. And the doctor's like, oh no, you're not actually unwell. Oh, here she is. Ariel Laurie. And if you look at her skin, like she's glowing, but she's got to now try and do.
She looks amazing.
Right? If you see her, like she looks 22 and just perfect skin, like perfect face. Like she's got, once again, at one point in her life, she had perfect money. So you're not ugly. You're just not rich.
Wow. She tapes her face now.
Yeah.
I'll take a note of that.
And that's where I'm like, so it's been interesting to watch her, not us talking about another podcast, but like, I'm fascinated with now that like, filler, because you see so many people overfilling their face and so many people there's that classic, you know, the young girls filling their face and now they look older. I think like that Love Island thing that went viral because it was meant for people older losing volume.
Yeah.
And now we're doing it to like reshape our face.
Yeah.
And so it's just like a interesting thing. I'm like, I'm not against it once again, but like as someone who's consuming it, I'm also nervous and curious. How do you feel?
I see the TikTok sometimes of like Botox gone wrong and that terrifies me because for those that know, I'm a big hypochondriac. So I'm like, oh my goodness. But I feel like I have been doing it for years. I definitely laid off. Like if you look right now, like I like haven't had it done. My metabolism like is extremely fast because I think I got it done when I was in New York. That was like the summer. That was in like August, maybe July. So it's only been like a few months and my Botox has already worn off, which is crazy. But I just like, I usually just get it once a year, but I don't know. I don't know what to do without Botox. I love her. I love how it makes me look. I did stop getting lip filler. I used to do it. I feel like I still have it like left over because it doesn't always dissolve. But I definitely like stopped doing that. I don't know if there was like, if I could tape my face instead, I would definitely do it, but I'm not against it necessarily, but it is kind of creepy to know this about it. But at the same time, we know things about boob jobs and I still got a boob job. So I think it's like, at the end of the day, it's what you're comfortable with your body. I think I'm going to still get Botox. What do you think?
It's such like, I'm always conflicted. Do you know what I mean?
When
like
was the last time you got it?
Over a year?
Oh.
It's been a long time. Quite a bit. Like I can't remember. Like not within the year. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And my body goes, anytime I've gotten it, it goes through it in like 2 months and all that.
Yeah.
But then like I do everything else. And like I do get occasionally. And so like how much work. And like I do notice like every blue moon, then I'll look, I'm like, oh, you're looking a little off. And then I'm like, oh, I haven't gotten Botox in a year and a half or something. I'm like, and then you go and get it. And then you're like, oh, yeah, no, everything's smooth again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like torn because we're at this place where I'm like, I'm sick of just being told Botox or filler. Like I feel they're such temporary things. Like filler, because I age. Like my face is like as I've aged, has gone more gaunt here. Like that's just where like I've also I'm like, okay, yeah, I could like fill it back up with filler, but I'm like, that's not reversing. It's temporary fix.
No,
like Botox isn't stopping the wrinkles. It's just like stopping me from creating wrinkles and frowning. And I'm like, what have you heard is coming up as like the new technology? Have you heard anything? Like you said, vampire facials and stuff like that.
I feel like I've known about vampire facials for a while. I've never done any of those. I mean, you just did microneedling. Do you think that helped?
So I just got it on Friday. So once again, like I'm like 3 days away from being like fully healed.
Okay.
So it's really hard. And I got the exomes put into it after, which is like one of those like stem cell-y things you can put in. So that's what fascinates me the most. And like I find it really cool that we're kind of getting to this place where it's like, I'm not just fixing my skin for cosmetics. It's literally because your skin's your base organ, like rebuilding your skin, rebuilding collagen, which you lose collagen as you age. And that's part of the aging process. And like, you want to live healthy and longer. And so like that's stuff I'm interested in. Like I said, I tried microneedling for the first time. It was a lot easier than I thought it'd be. Have you ever got it done?
No, I've never done any of that. I want to try it.
So I got it done and I expected to go in there and it'd be like a tattoo on your face the whole time. And I expected it like every time they put it on your face, it'd be like burn, burn, burn. And I was like, oh, first of all, I got the numbing cream and the place I went to was amazing. They gave you like a massage beforehand and it just kind of feels like stone being massaged against your face, and every once in a while it kind of like shocks you a little bit with the numbing cream. But then right after it was done, my face was so itchy, but like the burny itch, you know what I mean? I was like, you can't touch it. But after like 5 minutes, it went away and I looked like I had the worst ski goggle tan ever. Like my eyes are all white and everything else is like beet red. So like luckily it was raining and I just went home. So it's supposed to help with collagen regrowth and like the orange skin. It's supposed to smooth it out, like fine lines. So I'll keep you posted in a couple podcasts if it's worth it. Right now I'm like, oh, my skin looks good, but my skin was looking fine before going in. Like I didn't have any breakouts, but it's more like building collagen. But heard of that. I've heard of like there's radio frequency, there's red light. What about have you done any like red light therapy on your face? No. Anything like that?
I've never done any of the No. I mean, maybe I've done red light when I got a facial once in Spain. That's something I'm doing this year is like more self-care. Like I finally paid for like a deep tissue massage, like things like that. So this year there's a facialist I want to go to where I live and just like see the options. Yeah. Have you done it?
Well, I did the challenge. I did the 30 days wearing the red light therapy mask.
Oh my God. What do you think of it?
It did work. It's like such a tough thing, and my skin definitely looked good. It looked plump. It looked like, it's not like my wrinkles were like gone, but I was just like, by the end of the month, I was like, oh yeah, my skin's looking really nice. But it's one of those things like, and I do think it works, but it's kind of like fitness. Like you have to keep up with it so much, like every day. And like, I know it sounds like such a thing to complain about, but this mask, like you had to time it like, okay, I got to get home and wash off my makeup and wear it around, and like when you're going to put it on, and like you're watching TV, but you don't want to watch TV with this mask on, and it's
just kind of like it's blinding your eyes.
No, because it's actually apparently good for your eyes. Like there's some research that like red light therapy can actually like help your eye health. So like there's a lot of benefits for it, but it's just like one of those things. It's like meditating. Yeah, you just have to sit there, but I have to go off, wash my makeup, put it on, like charge it, and then like you just get out of the habit of it. As soon as I got out of the habit of it, it's just one of those things like, it's like getting in the bath. It's no effort. It's so easy. It's right there, but you're just like human nature. Like, I've got so much other things to do. I don't want to put this on right now. Yeah. And then you just fall off. So it's one of those things like, if you're going to be consistent with it, I think it can help. Yeah. But with that, like, I'd love to know your thoughts. This is where even like this topic I'm interested in. I think up till now, in the last few years, we've been given so many anti-aging things. We've been told, do retinol, do Botox, do filler, do this, do that, do this. But none of it really works. Like Botox, it works, but it's like a temporary fix. Filler's a temporary fix. There's all these skincares that kind of worked, but not really. And you could go and get like laser, but a lot of lasers don't actually work, and some do more harm than good. And it's like everything's been like iffy. But we're kind of getting to this place with like things like a Sculptra and all that, and just seeing with like AI and medicine we've talked about. I was like, I think we're getting to the place where like it's actually going to be able to change our faces. Like we're actually going to be able to like rebuild collagen, rebuild skin. But at what cost? Like I could go do all these things. And like, this is where I'm like, this is the conflict. It's not a matter of it like working now. It's like, especially as women, how much of our money are we going to spend on this? Like, I could go do this and probably look like Kim Kardashian for 20 years and spend 100K. I don't have a house. I could have a perfect face but I need to buy a house. I want to save money for my kids. Like, what are we giving up as this like pressure of like, it's cool we can look young forever, but like, where's aging gracefully in this time? And like, at what cost, literally financially? Like, are we sacrificing just this like youth obsession we have now, especially with the ability to actually stay youthful? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that is so tricky because I mean, I'm part of the problem as well. We both are somebody that we're like, oh, we have done everything that we play the part with the Botox, skincare, things like that. I think it is like a self-acceptance thing that maybe I'm not quite ready to have of aging. And I think everybody goes through that to some extent. And I hate in society, men age gracefully, right? They get handsome with age, like a George Clooney, but then we get hated on. Think of Monica from Friends and like how she had done a lot to her face. She was very like open and transparent about it, but she was like hated on for that. And that's horrible that as a woman, she gets hated on. And meanwhile, there's this man that like George Clooney, I mean, I'm sure he does a lot of things, but like it seems as if he never had to like touch his face. The wrinkles look amazing. It looks so good. And I just think it's so messed up for women that we can't age beautifully and gracefully without it being like, oh, she doesn't look as good as she did back in whatever, you know, her prime time. So I don't know. I think it's tough. I think it's cool though. I want to look into the Sculptra and just maybe try and find like better options. Like I think the facialists are a great idea if you don't want to do filler and Botox. Even like certain skincare, I did. Oh, this is so embarrassing to admit. I saw a TikTok ad and it's so embarrassing. It was for a neck and shoulders lotion.
Yeah, you talked about it on the podcast.
Yes.
Talked about it on the podcast.
You guys, it smells like grandma's lotion. You can tell it's just lotion. It is. I don't know why I thought like, oh, it's gonna like tighten my neck up. No, it's just smelly lotion. I don't even use it. And it was just rebranded, remarketed to neck and shoulder, like, you know, clavicle lotion. Yeah. And I learned my lesson. Don't dupe me.
Here's a little tip for you. You know that, like, here's a great example of marketing. It's true. You will get wrinkles on your neck and chest. You know how you solve that? Put your skincare down. You don't have to get a separate neck thing. Like, that's where it's like we overcomplicate skincare. Yeah. And like as women, and like we're so scared, and suddenly it's like hand cream and all this. Like, all I've started doing is like when you put a little retinol on your hand, put a little extra on your face, put a little extra on your hands, put a little extra here. And then like you don't have to have like, and I have a body skincare and I have a face, but like, do you know what I mean? We're marketed like, there's so many things we can be self-conscious. So many things show our age. Like
I got.
Yeah. See, and we all have, I have a retinol hand cream. Like we all have done it. And it's like, why don't you just put your face retinol and then wear gloves?
Totally. Like, or even like, I mean, sun exposure as well, just naturally, anybody that's exposed in the sun. So when I run, because I live somewhere that has really harsh UV rays, I like, well, first off, I always wear sunscreen, and then I'll like cover up fully with like even a long sleeve or a short sleeve jacket or shirt, just so I'm not exposing my chest. And like, don't get me wrong, sunlight is actually phenomenal for you. Like you should be getting exposure to sunlight. But when my UV rays are like at the all-time high and my dermatologist is like, hey, you know, maybe cover up your shoulders. It's good to take that note. Or even like talk to your dermatologist and say like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. I'm noticing these wrinkles, whatever. Like they can probably prescribe you whether it's retinol or maybe they just give you tips and they're like, hey, this is what you should do. Like, why don't you, you know, try putting on a nighttime mask or something like that.
Definitely. And interesting, because you started talking about George Clooney, it got me thinking. And I'm like curious if this will be like, can we change it, or are we just doomed to forever? It's just more extreme of like the aging, and there's the people with money who age, and like the people who can't. And like, I don't know where it is, but something that could be empowering is when you look at a man who's aged and you see wrinkles and all that, there's a subliminal, why they're more attractive is it gives wisdom, it gives wealth, it gives like they're what a man is like typically known as being like more manly comes with age and time. So I think that's like subliminally, you see an older man, you're like, oh, he's established, he has wisdom. Versus a woman, it's like, it's always our looks. So of course your looks start going downhill after a certain age. And it's almost like that's what, obviously I'm not talking real. I'm saying this was like in the olden days, is like, it was told like a woman's, and that was what we provided. It was our looks, and that's our biggest thing. And it all goes downhill from here. But I wonder if social media can actually be the thing that changes this. And this is where I kind of have a bit of hope is Hollywood used to be like, after 25, we don't want you. So we don't show anyone that's over 25. Like that was the thing, unless it's like either you're an old lady, a grandma, or you're a 25, like a 25-year-old would play anywhere from 16 to 40. So no wonder our ideas of like aging is so warped. But now, especially with social media, like I even think with myself, and I'd be interested for you, like I'm finding it empowering to like grow with my audience because I'm like, oh, this is what a 30-year-old looks like. And obviously I do a lot of procedures and I want to do healthy, but like my audience can look at 30-year-olds. My audience with like kids can go find a 40-year-old. Like what you actually like see people your age, and it's not like you're just gifted this like perfectly beautiful person. And it's like with that, it gives like women more value than our looks. Like you look at a woman for like so much more versus like exactly like I was like, I wonder if that can be the thing that changes it. And it's like I look at an older lady and I'm like, oh, tell me your wisdom. You must know so much about life versus being like, oh, good thing you're still holding on tight. Like I think like I hope we look at like older women with wisdom and like more pride and like, oh, you have more value to society than me because you're older versus the reverse.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think Hollywood is slowly playing into it because if you think about it, like Nobody Wants This, that show.
True.
Isn't she in her 40s?
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, that girl looks phenomenal.
Amazing.
But still, it was like a storyline of somebody that wasn't fresh out of college, not Summer I Turned Pretty vibes, which I still like, but it is nice and empowering to see. I mean, think of Sex and the City and how they were mid-30s and like a lot of them didn't end up having kids, and it was just like a different universe and a different thing you could see that wasn't what society would paint women usually to be. That's like why I liked the show so much, is like they were like flirty and 30 and thriving, and like they would like acknowledge they were getting older, but they would still be extremely youthful and not play into like the age necessarily.
Yeah. Or, you know what was really cool to see? Victoria's Secret fashion show. Did you watch it?
No, I didn't.
Well, I don't know if, even if you didn't watch it, is they had Tyra Banks, Kate Moss, Candace Swanepoel, Miranda, like, not Miranda, why am I blanking on her? Brunette, like face of Victoria's Secret.
I know who you're
Adriana Lima.
I did see that on TikTok.
And I was like, and they're all so beautiful. And once again, a woman's value isn't just her looks, but it was just cool to see like not like they were just hot and they were older, and it wasn't like just like 18-year-old, 22-year-olds were sexualizing. You know what I mean? It was like a woman, powerful and looking good, and like there, and that I found that so refreshing to not just everyone be 18 to 22.
Totally, and be this like. Because I mean, Victoria's Secret is still so like toxic, at least for me. Like I don't think I can watch those shows without being like, but I do like that they are being a bit more inclusive with that and like not as ageist. And I just feel like some of the Victoria's Secret models, I'm like, I could never. Nobody looks like that.
No.
Like you are extremely blessed if you do. But majority of the time, like I'm going into a fitting room and I'm not going to necessarily look like that when I try something on. So I think that's cool. They were being a little bit more realistic and like trying to bring it back to an extent. Would you ever, if they asked you to walk, would you ever do it?
100%. That'd be like a life bucket. Like obviously they never ask me, but I'm like, that would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
That would be
you know what I would
so
like
fun.
is like to see someone's like realistic like stretch marks from like having babies. And I don't know, I didn't watch it, but like that would be really cool. Or even like women that walk and have cellulite. Like, did they have that?
You know what? Actually, I feel they kind of didn't, but in a kind of just gonna play devil's advocate. And I'm not saying you should. That was kind of Victoria's Secret, the cool thing, not the cool thing. I think we were all mesmerized by watching it. It was like everyone was perfect. Like it was crazy. Like
I know.
Not every like skin blemish. There was not a thing. So it was crazy to watch. And the problem is like, I think they went the complete opposite. It was like, that was Victoria's Secret. We just had this like beautiful image. And then they brought on like curvier women, older women. But then they're like, look at her stretch marks. It was like, no, make the curvy girl look sexy. Yeah. Don't be like, look at my stretch marks. Like make her feel like I'm the hottest person. Like, so I kind of like this time that they leaned into like making every body type, every age sexy, hot.
But I mean, they could still be like, because I think of, like for me, I'm like, I don't feel like I look like, nobody looks like me with like my figure that I see in Victoria's Secret, like ads or whatever, right? Yeah. And it's like, I naturally have cellulite, and when I walk, and that's something I've always been really insecure about, like wearing shorts to the gym. And like, even think of lingerie, that makes me insecure. Yeah. And so it's like, I would have, like I think it would be cool to see that representation, but of course still make them sexy. Yeah. But like just show that's like a normal female body. It doesn't mean you're overweight if you have cellulite, right? No.
But
like,
I feel like they had a lot of girls who would have cellulite. But I mean, like that's what I'm saying. What they did is they took girls, like they would take you, and we're not going to.
They're not like screaming she has cellulite.
Like that's what I was like. They took it's like, what's your biggest insecurity? Cellulite. We're going to show everyone your cellulite. They were like, okay, that is your biggest insecurity. We're going to make you look. And it's not like even hiding.
Like
it.
We're going to find things that flatter you, maybe.
Exactly. Like, I think that's the trick. It's like finding what everyone, and it's not necessarily what it's like society says. Oh, you're a B cup, so you have to wear this to look flattering. It's like, I think they're leaning a bit more into, or at least that's how I felt. And I hope this is the direction. It's like, I want, if you to walk Victoria's Secret, you would want to, because you're like, look how good I look.
Yeah.
And it's not changing your body. It's just like you in the essence of like hotness. And I feel like that's where they started to like lean a bit more too. And that seemed to be because like everyone was dressed so differently. Like Ty was in a full bodysuit. And then versus like Candace Swamppool was in this like red little skimpy thing. And I was like, that feels like what both of them would be confident in wearing. So I feel like that's where I think the direction should be.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's like, it's not hiding, it's just like making every body type of every, and we all have our imperfections that we're hide of, but it's like, how do we feel empowered with it?
Yeah.
And I think
I like that viewpoint.
Yeah, that's, I think it's a fun way. It's like everyone deserves to feel good.
Definitely.
And like, and not to be like, there's one thing, and I don't know, maybe the thing is like, let's normalize our insecurities, or like, how do we just make sure we feel good?
Yeah.
I wonder.
I also feel like with women, we can feel very like competitive. It's like our nature to be competitive and want to feel like you look better or whatever it may be. So I think that's cool if like everyone comes in. Like, do you feel like people are definitely more self-accepting, or not self-accepting, but like even online, people are more willing to like hype you up as a hype girl than like tear you down? Where like I think in the past that's not always been the case with media.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're always like pairing, not necessarily influencing, but like the Selena and Haley and things like that. Where now it's like it's getting a little bit more normalized to be like, can we just like cut that? But it is like in our nature to be competitive if you think about it, of like, I don't know, maybe it stems from like wanting to find a partner or something like that. But that was always something, even in high school, that you'd think of, there'd be Mean Girls. Like, it's like that stereotypical Mean Girl movie.
True.
But like, guys don't necessarily have that.
True.
There are men that are like definitely mean and catty, but
I mean, they punch
there's
each other
not
in the
movies
face.
usually about it. Yeah. They're boxing.
They do something else. They just hit each other. So, you know what I mean? Like, they physically abuse. We use our words.
I don't think they could handle how like women fight.
No, they would break down. They'd be crying. Yeah. That's why they don't cry, because they don't know what women say.
Yeah.
Then they would
I think I'd rather get punched than like have a girl be mean to me on the internet.
Honestly, facts.
It's like, let's fight it out. Let's go.
But I think it's interesting. Like, we're also more educated about, and we've all experienced being online. Like, I think we never could put ourselves in the shoes of like a Selena Gomez, because it was like such a foreign world. And now, like, obviously I still can't put my foot in my shoes of Selena Gomez, but we've all been bullied online. And so I think like before, like, people are a bit more aware, and obviously trolling is crazy on the internet. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't exist, but like, for the most part, like, if someone trolls someone for something that's inappropriate, people defend it. Like, you can't say those. And like, we've seen what's happened to Paris. We've seen what's happened to Britney. We've seen what happened to Amanda Bynes. And it's like, let's not do that to the next generation. It's like, obviously the next generation, but I think there's a bit, at least before, remember that it was like, who wore it better and stuff like that. Like, there were so many blatantly toxic things.
But I did love that
we all did. We all did. And it was like, and now we're like, oh, that was bad of us. That was bad. And like, if anyone did that now, the first comment would be like, take this down. This is bullying. Like, so we're not great, but I think it's in the right direction. Like, social media, at least like there's people that are like self-aware that like there's a human behind that. Yeah. Sometimes people forget.
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe people are becoming more self-aware with that, because we do have social media, and like people will be open, being like, hey, this actually hurts me, where not a celebrity didn't necessarily do that. They just took it, they called it what it was. And then now that we have social media, and people, everyday people, can be those like quote unquote celebrities, and they're like, hey, I'm human, this is actually how I feel. Maybe it changes some opinions. I mean, trolls will always be trolls. Like, if you catch yourself trolling, quit it. Quit it. But still, it is, I don't know, it's like Pandora's box.
Definitely. Well, considering we've opened Pandora's box, I would love for you to tie the box closed, and just like we're in this crossroads, I think, of a lot of technology, especially anti-aging with women. As we go into the place, like, soon, there'll be a lot of expensive things we can do that actually reverse our aging. And then on the flip side, like, where do you feel as like women, do we accept aging, and do we lean into like living longer, healthy? Because our skin is part of our body, and it's part of youthfulness and health. But like, where do you feel with the crossroads?
Why can't we have both? That's kind of how I think, that's how I feel. Of like, I don't think there's anything wrong with me wanting to like remain youthful to an extent, but of course you do have to accept, we get older, we have to accept our age to an extent, and like just try and be as healthy as possible. But like, I would advocate for the girls that it's not, I mean, it is vain to an extent, but it's like, there's nothing wrong if that's like also what you want. Maybe it'll help you, you know, maybe not do a really intense procedure, like, and it stops you, and instead you like go for a healthier route with your skin. But I'm somebody that I'm like, I'm not going to just be like, oh, I'm no longer going to get Botox, I'm no longer like whatever. I'm like, that's just not realistic. I think it's natural to want both. What do you think?
I think, and this is what I'm going to be doing. I hope, once again, my opinions could change in a month. I'm just a growing gal.
I'll call her out.
Please
if she
do.
gets Botox.
Please do. Well, I'm not against Botox or anything like that, but I mean with like my anti-aging is I hope, and at least I think, and once again, the world could change in 5 years, is like I just continuously weigh the cost benefit in the sense of like right now I can do Botox once a year, retinol every night, every few months do some kind of facial something. And that's not that much time or money in comparison to my disposable income. I don't have kids right now, so I do have a bit more disposable income. Now, I think there will get to be a point when, I'm maybe my 40s, you got to more severe things. And you got to be doing facials every week. You got to be doing Botox every 3 months. And it starts adding up, and I got kids to pay for. And there's I think there'll get the time of I just have to accept I can't hold on to this. This is too much money, too much time.
Definitely.
And I hope I'll check. I think that's all we can do right now maybe is every year check in with ourselves. I'm am I spending way too much money on beauty? And I just have to accept this. But at the same time, do some self-care, make yourself feel what looks good for you. Youthfulness. And I think we just have to constantly right now. And that's where I'm telling myself with this changing world is check in with ourselves. I'm am I getting too distracted by, and I'm wasting my money and time just for vanity? But at the same time, you're allowed to be a little vain.
Yeah. And if you think about I think of my grandmother. I thought she was one of the most beautiful women ever. And I'm I never once thought about her skin. I never thought, I just thought she was beautiful. She had gorgeous white hair. I didn't think anything of it, of how she lost the color of her hair. So, maybe check yourself as well with that you are beautiful and people think you're beautiful. Same with my mother. I don't think of that at all. And my stepmom, I'm you guys, it's what matters is who they are to me, not necessarily their beauty standards. I don't think anybody is oh, she's got some wrinkles.
True.
If they are, then they suck.
Yep. You know who actually is the coolest people I ever see? Do you ever see, every once in a while, in Vancouver, an older lady, clearly 60, 70, white haired, dressed in the coolest outfit. She hasn't stopped. She's I'm dressing up. I got my glasses, but cool. She's so trendy. And the purse, the earrings, everything. I'm you are cooler than any of us trying in our 20s and 30s. And I'm I love that she's exactly. There's something about just embracing it, but not being oh, I'm old. I can't have fun and dress up.
Yeah.
Embracing her age, but then still having fun. I'm I hope we all do that. I'm that's always my goal. So when I see something like that, I'm I love you.
I agree. All right.
Well, with that, we'll finish off a little question from you guys. If you didn't know, we have an Instagram. You can go follow and you can leave us a question or submit a confession session if you need to get something off your chest. And today's question is, how to find a routine that suits you? I love lifting weights, but feel so tired the whole day. How'd you deal with this?
I think the routine, it depends. If she's feeling too tired and fatigued from weightlifting, it depends on how long she's been at it as well. Things at first you're gonna feel sore, you're gonna feel tired until you develop it into a habit. But if you just don't love it and it makes you tired and doesn't uplift you, I think find something that's movement wise, at least for me, what I would do. I used to be a lifter. I was very strict with my schedule, and now I'm I do Pilates once a week, I run once a week, I go for walks. Find what brings you joy and just maybe try out a different thing. See if you're a yogi girl. If you're not, okay, cool. Just get a free pass, a week pass, whatever it may be. See if you like the sauna, things that will make you feel good and your body will respond to it. But if it's just really tough at first, I'm just gonna be honest, it's gonna be hard. Nothing is gonna come easy. Lifting, you're gonna feel sore. I took a week off. Keltie and I went and did a booty workout yesterday, and I'm super sore today. But that's just that's the name of the game, and you just it's consistency and it will get better. But I do think we should always do some form of resistance training just for functional movement as we get older. But it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do this crazy rigid hour-long split. What do you think?
I think I'd agree, but I think we also have to remind ourselves you can definitely overtrain, but I think overtraining isn't the issue. It's usually under recovering. So just a reminder, do a little audit, assuming you like weight training, assuming it's not just you just blatantly hate this. Why are you tired? So first of all, are you waking up early in the morning to go work out so you're not getting enough sleep? Are you working out early in the day so you're burning more calories so you're not adding more protein in? Are you not drinking enough water? Are you working out at night so it's cutting in you have too much adrenaline at night? So I would just make sure, check in with yourself, oh, I started lifting all these weights, but I haven't increased my calories, I haven't increased my protein, I'm cutting away at sleep, and just make sure you're getting enough sleep, enough protein. You know, the classic is 1 gram of protein per kilogram/pound of weight. Like if you're someone who's really into weightlifting, it'd be on pounds versus kilograms more lifestyle. That's the generic you'll see everywhere online recommendation. And just make sure you're fueling yourself and like recovering properly, and that you're not like hitting the weights like every single day. Like maybe just starts once a week too. Like I don't do weights more than 3 times a week for just like, because I lean in longevity. I'm not in sports performance. So just make sure you're not overtraining or under recovering. And that might be the problem. And make sure you're also not like spending like 4 hours at the gym.
Yeah.
And you're like, you only need to be in there 30 minutes to 60 minutes. So like, don't feel the need that you like have to kill yourself every workout. So make sure you're recovering properly.
Yeah. And maybe you'll fall in love with something you didn't realize, like Tai Chi or boxing, or just like, don't be afraid to try them. And maybe you'll be your new routine, and like you can meet friends and create a club, and you would have no idea you even liked it.
Yeah.
Right?
And just a really simple piece of advice. Make sure you're having something right after. Maybe you're tired because you just don't eat a meal right after, or a snack or a protein shake. Just try adding a little, let's keep it simple.
Yeah.
Have a protein smoothie after, a little peanut butter jelly sandwich, a little protein bar. Just try that, some electrolytes, and see if you're like, oh, I was just a little hungry. Yeah. So I know that's me. Sometimes I'm like, oh, life's so miserable. I just needed bread. Like, do you know what I mean? Sometimes.
Yeah, so totally.
Sometimes it can be that.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Don't forget to check us out on Instagram, YouTube, drop a review if you want, and we will see you next time.
Bye.